everybody, Chris the Old Ass Retro Gamer here. Today I'm going to go over more of my pickups. This time I'm going to focus on the handheld systems. Let's start off with the oldest first, the Nintendo Game Boy. I only got 4 games for this system. I really haven't been on the lookout, but the games that I do want to get for the original Game Boy are the ones that I remember playing the most as a kid before I start getting into games that I never really owned. Starting with Batman the video game. Really cool side-scroller, awesome music, really hard. Quirk, it's a really hard puzzle game. I remember spending, I don't know how much time with this, and I still do. Motocross Maniacs and Tetris. Everybody knows Tetris. Not much love for the Game Boy Color. I did own a Game Boy Color, but I didn't really own that many games for it. I think back in the day I only had maybe 10. I did find one that is based on an old PC game that I really liked when I was a little kid. Seamus. It's a puzzler. Nothing too fancy. It does reek of like really old school puzzle game. But that's why I liked it so much. It is just like I remember the old PC game that we used to have for our old Atari computer. A lot of fun. This is beyond retro for me. This is old school. And then I also have an upgrade to a Game Boy Color game that I did own. Beatmania Game Boy. Or GB. It's a Japanese Game Boy Color game. I've talked about it before. Not the greatest version of Beatmania, but for an on-the-go portable version on the Game Boy, this is not too bad. Then the Game Boy Advance. I did manage to get a number of games for this, some a lot better than others, starting with Gunstar Superheroes. This is the sequel to Gunstar Heroes for the Genesis by Treasure. Super fun, really creative. This thing pushes the hardware as far as it possibly could go, which was what Treasure usually did. They did stuff on the Genesis version that you didn't think that system would be able to do, but they did the same thing on the Game Boy Advance. Really cool action game. Mario Kart Super Circuit, Metroid Fusion. Next is Star Wars Flight of the Falcon. Basically every level of this is some sort of a vehicle level. You get to fly the Falcon, you get to fly speeder bikes. There's a lot of effects being used in this game. It is kind of shocking. This was like a later release for the Game Boy Advance. Really cool game. Star Wars The New Droid Army. This isometric action game is so bad. It is so bad. Unplayable almost. But then there's also Star Wars Trilogy Apprentice of the Force, which it basically follows the storyline of all 3 original films. Super cool side-scroller. You get to do a lot of different things, and you get to play as a lot of different characters. Each one has their own special abilities. Super fun, especially when the Force powers come into it. It is so rad. I've brought it up before that I am a Super Wing Commander whore, so I had to get this when I found out there was a version of it on the handheld. Wing Commander Prophecy. Normally you'd be playing this on the PC, so you have a whole keyboard. Lots and lots of buttons to choose from. Well, on the Advance you only had 2. Not counting like the start and select button. So weird button combinations do certain things. Like if you want to go to warp, you have to do like 3 buttons. But when it comes to the combat, it is really fun. And this is a super awesome handheld version of Wing Commander. So now I'm going to move on to the Nintendo DS games, which I've purchased. Bangai-O Spirits. Oh, this game is hard. That's another game by Treasure. You play as this tiny little ship that has lots of firepower. It's basically a puzzle game. How do you get out of the fix you're in with the abilities that you have available to you without getting killed? It is so hard, but it's one of those games that is super frustrating, but you keep coming back because you know you can do better. Contra 4. Yeah. Legend of Kage 2. I had no idea that this game existed at all. It is a sequel to the old Nintendo game. Side-scrolling action game, ninjas, all that kind of awesomeness. I am so glad that I picked this up. This is a total diamond in the rough type of a game. Mega Man ZX and Mega Man ZX Advent. Metroid Prime Hunters. I'm torn on this one. This game sucks. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I need to go over the instruction book again, but I cannot control this game to save my life. It is so clunky. I don't get it. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't even beat the first freaking level. The graphics are amazing. I can't figure out what to do in this damn game. And then here is a game that is a total diamond in the rough. I had no idea this existed. I'm so glad that I took the chance on it when I found it at a local game store. Orcs and Elves. Made by id. There was an iPhone game, Doom RPG, and then there's Doom 2 RPG. Basically, it took the game of Doom and turned it into a strategy RPG. And the makers of that game, which was id, obviously, took that game and made an original one out of the engine, and Orcs and Elves is the end result. It is a fantasy version of it. Super cool, super fun. It's addictive like none other. So much fun to play. Really fucking hard. So now we're going to get into the Nintendo 3DS games. Cubic Ninja. I picked this up just after everyone found out that you could use this game to hack your Nintendo 3DS to create a homebrew channel. I never did that. Obviously, I never opened it because I bought it the week that everyone was making a big deal, and the price of this was just going up and up and up and up. And I found it at a Kmart for like $10. But seriously, like 2 weeks later, Nintendo released a patch that makes it so you can't use this anymore. So now the price has gone down, down, down. So I wanted to get this anyway because it looked really fun. Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call. This is a rhythm game by Square involving Final Fantasy characters. I got this limited edition version of it that comes with the music CD. I got this on Black Friday at a Best Buy. They were selling it for about half off, so I got it for about $20. And I was pretty happy to do so. I played the demo that I had downloaded off of the Nintendo eShop. Really, really fun. Of course, I love the music from Final Fantasy games, especially Part 4. So the fact that you can play through pretty much every single Final Fantasy game in this rhythm game type of scenario is super, super awesome. It's a great idea. 221 songs in this. Goddamn. Super Smash Bros. 3DS. I had to get it. I had to. Why would I not do this? Awesome. This is the game I bought the system for, basically. Bravely Default. It is an RPG by Square Enix, which harkens back to what the original Final Fantasy games were. And I'm not a fan of what the Final Fantasy games have become recently. The battle system in this game is a lot of fun. The story is great. It's got a lot of really cool fantasy stuff. There's, lots of drama, lots of voice acting. For these dinky little cartridges that these things come on, quality of music and voice acting in this is just, it's beyond mind-blowing. Technology. Castlevania Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate. Probably one of my favorite games that I've bought for this system so far. Dream Trigger 3D, which is this weird first-person shooter type of a deal where it's... If it weren't for the controls, this would be pretty cool. It's a shooter. You have like a targeting reticle that's like a little butterfly. And you have to shoot these objects that are coming at you. But at the same time you're doing that, you're using the controls. You also have to use the stylus on the bottom screen to pick out the areas you want to attack. And it's just like, it's really frustrating to play because the controls are so unintuitive as far as I'm concerned. But I have heard people say, like I know Metal Jesus Rocks brought it up, that once you get used to the controls, this game becomes like second nature. I really haven't devoted that much time to it, so maybe later on down the line I'll do it, but right now it's not one of my favorite games for the system. Fire Emblem Awakening, which is a strategy RPG. This is the first game in this series I've ever bought. Kid Icarus Uprising. I love me some Kid Icarus. The original game for the Nintendo and the original Game Boy game are two of my favorite games of all time. I don't think there was enough Kid Icarus in any of our lives. He doesn't get any love from Nintendo. And I'm completely surprised that we got a new game after all these years. I mean, yeah, how long did it take for them to put him in a Smash Brothers game? It's a third-person action game where there's flying levels and there's ground levels, and it requires the stand. The reason this box is so big is it comes with this stand that you need to play because you can't hold the system and do what you need to do with the stylus at the same time. It's pretty much impossible without putting it on your lap, and you'll probably drop the damn system. So it comes with a stand to put the system on so you can do all these crazy combinations with the stylus and the controls. This and Bravely Default were the reasons I wanted to get a 3DS to begin with, and this does not disappoint. Nano Assault. I played this game probably nonstop for a couple of weeks, even after I had beaten it, and I still went back and played it again. Basically, you're playing as this little microscopic ship that is going onto living cells and destroying corruption that are taking it over. So it's a shooter, but the 3D in this game is unmatched. I have not played a game that has 3D effects this rad out of all these games I have. This one is just beyond awesome. It's just the way the cell, when you're moving around the cell, it actually spins in 3D space. And it looks, oh my god, like, how are graphics possible on these dinky little chips? I just don't know. Paper Mario Sticker Star Project X Zone, which is this still blows my mind to this day. It is Bandai Namco, Capcom, and Sega characters all in one game. While it doesn't really do the combination of all three in a way that makes perfect sense, you play as these one of these two characters, and randomly characters from all these other video games will just pop up and be like, hey, I'm gonna assist you in this fight that you're gonna have right now. And then they'll go away and you'll never see them again. This box set is pretty rad. I mean, it comes with a soundtrack and this art book. And, I mean, the idea of having all these characters from all these different companies in it is pretty awesome. It's not pulled off all that well. I'm not saying I hate it. I don't hate it. I think it is a really great idea. I would love to see a sequel to this done better. Spirit Camera. The Cursed Memoir is a horror game that uses the camera on the 3DS to great effect. Basically, you have like a book that comes with this game. And at certain points in the game when you're running around, it'll say, hey, you know, what about that thing in the book that I saw? And then you have to aim the camera at a page, and all of a sudden a hand will come out of the book and reach for you, kind of like out of one of the Ring movies or the Grudge movies. And it uses augmented reality in a really great way. This game is spooky as fuck. Star Fox 64 3D. What the hell? Why is this game so much fun? It shouldn't be. Steel Diver. It was a launch game, and I play this the most out of any game I have. I cannot recommend this enough. Now we're going to move on to the PSP. I still need to get a Vita. I need to get on that. I mentioned in a previous video that a coworker of mine had given me a bunch of video games that she found in her closet that belonged to her ex-husband that she didn't want. She gave me a PS2. She gave me a bunch of import Saturn games. She also gave me a PSP. An entire PSP, the system. Didn't come with a battery or a memory stick, so I had to buy those things separately. And then I ended up bricking it and having to get one of those Pandora batteries things to unlock it and all that. It was a real big ordeal because I was trying to update it and the battery wasn't charged all the way and it crashed and couldn't boot it up anymore. So it was a big problem. It took about a month before I could actually use the damn thing. But once I did get it up and running, you better believe I went crazy because PSP games are super, super cheap, depending on what game you're looking for. If you're looking for some of the higher end, like Atlas, NIS America ones, they can go for a lot. But I found a lot of them really good prices. I found most of these for $5 and under. And I'm all about being thrifty, so this worked out very well for me. 300, March to Glory. Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles. Basically, this is an upgraded version of Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo, which actually was a TurboGrafx 16 game. Really cool. Oh, God, this game is so much fun. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. This is another spin-off of Final Fantasy VII. I don't know how many of these things we're going to get. Square really needs to stop doing this. I mean, not to say this is a bad game. This is actually pretty cool. But, you know, you've got Final Fantasy VII, leave it at Final Fantasy VII. We don't need side stories. We don't need prequels. We don't need sequels. We don't need any of that crap. Just leave it alone. That's what's wrong with Square nowadays, is that they just keep going back and milking all their old games instead of creating really good new ones. Final Fantasy 13. This is a decent RPG. Graphics for the PSP are amazing. Darkstalkers Chronicles, The Chaos Tower. Deadhead Fred, 3D action game. Pretty funny. It's got a weird sense of humor, but it's a lot of fun. Disgaea Infinite, strategy RPG. I haven't played it yet because I'm trying to beat a couple of the other RPGs that you're going to see a little bit later. You'll know why. But I've heard such good things about this series. This is the first game in the series I've ever bought. And I'm really excited to when I can get around to playing it. Dissidia, Final Fantasy. This is a weird one because this is a 3D fighting game with Final Fantasy characters. I expected it to be kind of like Urgies or Urguys, whatever that game was that they had created back in the day. But this is... I don't know what to make of this. It is cool. The graphics are amazing. It's got a weird storyline about, you know, this weird good and evil conflict thing. But at the same time, it's like the combat isn't all that great. So I'm not sure what to think of it. I need to play it a little bit more. I might do a review of it because this is another one I never hear anyone talking about. But I did get it with the cool slipcover, so that's a plus. Fat Princess, Fistful of Cake, Field Commander, one of my favorite strategy games of all time. I played this for hours and hours on end. It is so much fun. Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Lions. It's Final Fantasy Tactics. How can you go wrong? It's awesome. So here's a weird one. Half Minute Hero. Quite possibly one of the most unique games I've ever played. It is a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc. It's a really cool strategy RPG. Killzone Liberation, Kingdom of Paradise. It's a martial arts RPG. Lunar Silver Star Harmony. It's lunar. Can't go wrong. Me and My Katamari, Medal of Honor Heroes. Motor Storm Arctic Edge. Patapon, really cool music-based puzzle game. action game, weird combo, really fun. Pixel Junk Monsters Deluxe, Pursuit Force, and Pursuit Force Extreme Justice. Super fun action games where you're jumping from car to car on the highways trying to take down bad guys as this crazy psycho cop that reminds me of Martin Riggs from Lethal Weapon. So much fun. Resistance Retribution. This is the game I'm playing through right now. Even though it's not really a first-person shooter, they changed it from a first-person to a third-person. It's a side story in the Resistance series. It's really, really cool. A lot of fun. Secret Agent Clank. Star Trek Tactical Assault. Bethesda made this. They made all the Star Trek games that came out for the PS2, Xbox, and I do believe Xbox 360. There was that Star Trek Legacy game, which is really fun. This feels like the combat that you use in Star Trek Online, which is not a bad thing because I like that. It is a lot of fun. It is really challenging, really, really hard, but I'm a Star Trek whore, so I had to have this. This is probably the third best game that Bethesda made with the Star Trek license. My favorite one is still Star Trek Conquest, which came out on the Wii and the PS2, and then Legacy, and then this. Encounters, don't play that one. Don't do it. Tron Evolution, this is the final Tron game I needed to complete my subset of Tron games released for home consoles. I've got them all. I'm happy. Wipeout Pulse. But here are the games that I'm playing through right now that I'm not going to start another RPG on the handheld until I can complete these two, and then I can move on to the other games in the series, which I hear are even better than these. But it is Shin Megami Tensei Persona and Shin Megami Tensei Persona 2 Innocent Sin. These are ports of the PlayStation 1 games, which are super expensive right now and I can't afford. These are the budget options, even though these collector's editions aren't cheap to begin with either. I got these for some super great prices off some guy that was slipping on eBay. Yeah, these come with like these collectible boxes, and there's like a soundtrack in each one. Right now I'm playing through Persona 1, and it is very different type of RPG. It is kind of strategy, but it's also kind of like a relationship simulator. Which basically I guess the entire Shin Megami Tensei series has turned into eventually. And it's really fun. I like the characters a lot, even though some of them are kind of annoying. Especially this guy right here with the goofy hat and the earrings. It's different, and it's different enough to keep me interested, and I keep wanting to see what happens. It's strange because certain times you're playing it and it's in an isometric perspective, and the controls on the PSP are kind of wonky when it comes to that. I really can't stand the movement. But when you're trekking around, sometimes there's an overworld map type of deal, and you don't really move through the overworld map. You just pick where you want to go, and you go there. And then other times you'll be moving through hallways in like a first-person perspective, which is bizarre as hell. So there's a lot of weird play styles in this. But the story is cool. The characters, like I said, are kind of interesting. So at least some of them are. And the music is phenomenal. And the graphics are stunning for a handheld system like this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this series goes, because there's a Persona 5 on the way coming out for the PS3, I do believe. And now there's like a crossover between Persona 3 and 4 that just came out for the 3DS called Persona Q. And I want to try that out. I do want to play 3 and 4 before I do that, because if it's a crossover, I'm not going to get anything that they're talking about. So, Atlas, you've got my attention with this series. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And I know it doesn't involve all the same characters. I know each one is its own thing. But there's so many different Shin Megami Tensei games out there that I have to collect. That's another subset I'm going for. It's going to take a while, but we'll see what happens. So that's it for handheld games. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave as many comments as you feel you need to. What do you think of the games that I got here? What games do you think I need to pick up for each of these systems? Which ones have I overlooked? Which ones do I need to find? Which ones do you recommend? Give the video a thumbs up, and please share. Don't forget also to check out my other show, Toasty, link below. You'll find it a ton of fun, where me and my friend Josh talk about everything geeky. So until next time, I'm Chris, the old ass retro gamer, signing off.